Do you have the minutes?
Do. Yeah, Austin got me a copy. Did that before I left the house. I have to do it when I think about it, or else it doesn't get done.
Otherwise, get embarrassed.
Sure.
All right, I'm going by the gray clock. Yes. Gray clock. There's a whole
Oh,
story.
I see it.
There's a whole story on that.
That one's actually like synchronized to the satellite, exactly.
It's about 45 seconds off. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag. Republic.
I'm going to just do the roll call before reorganization in that we do have a quorum with Ted, Sam, myself, and Mike here, and 2 absent. So we do need to do reorganization because when people are reelected to the committee or affirmed to the committee, we have to new chair and vice chair. So is there a nomination for chair?
I nominate Kathy Light.
Lowell, second.
I will serve unless somebody else is lusting for the position. Take more nominations. Is there another nomination? Nominations are closed. Is there a vote for Catherine Light for chair?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? No. Nomination for vice chair.
I nominate Sam Lurie.
I second. Are you good with that? Any further nominations? All in favor of Sam for vice chair? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay.
You run.
Yeah. Public comment. We don't have public here now, but if somebody comes in, we'll do that later. Approval of minutes for September 15th. I'm glad you guys had a meeting. 4 of you were there, so.
Was
Sam?
the fastest on record.
Yeah.
18,
22 minutes.
something like that,
Yeah,
18, 22 minutes? Yeah,
Yeah,
it was something
Sam
crazy.
should be chair then all the time, I think.
Wow, that was fast. Now, Sam, I move we accept the minutes.
It's second.
All in favor of approval of minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. Mooringfield and staff report.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Austin.
Austin Gilchrist, Town of Fort Myers Beach Harbor Master. New office is open. First month has been great. We get people staggering in about 5 a day. Office hours are from 7 to noon. The new office phone number is 239-224-4118. We do have an answering machine as well that will take all your questions and stuff when we get back to anybody as quick as we can. Other than that, everything is basically installed. We are still building up. We've got to get desks and things like that in there as well. The restrooms, we're working as a manual system now. The restrooms are left unlocked and up to the attendants. We check them every 45 minutes on a rotation to make sure that everything's getting covered and clean. We are currently getting the fob systems installed as well. There was a holdup. That was an old building, so they've got to run pretty much the basics over to that building as far as communication goes. So that's all getting installed now with cameras as well. Other than that, the pump out boat went down Monday. Lost a throttle cable out there out under the bridge, so we got it towed over to Diversified, and they should be replacing that throttle cable today. We've notified everybody in the field of what's going on with it, and we're trying to get out there as soon as we can. As soon as it gets repaired, we're going to be out in the field doing pump outs. With that in mind, the pump out procedures have changed. We still do request online, but starting, I think, earlier this month, we just went ahead and made every pump out mandatory in the field. On Mondays, we do all the odd balls, and on Wednesday, we do all the even balls. So anybody out in the field, they are required to get pumped out now. We make notes of anybody that's not aboard, and we start addressing those accordingly. As far as the wet storages and people that aren't there, usually we've got a few people that go to work every day, so we're working on their schedule to get them pumped out as well. Fridays are pretty much makeup days for anybody in the field, and we do try to focus all of our requests on Friday. Anybody outside of the field, we go out and pump out on Friday. What else? The boat should be up. We started the systems again. The new staff has been trained in all of the office procedures. Excuse me, all the DACWA procedures as well. They've been working through all the issues with it. We're at 62% in the field as of today. We've got most of the balls filled up. We are getting people starting to stack up the field as well. We are changing the procedures of how people are coming into the field based on their stay, and how they utilize the field is basically how they're determined where they're staying at in the field. Let's see. DACWA. Oh, we did a DACWA cleanup as well. We went through all of the prior leases that got transferred over in the transfer and cleaned them all up. Anybody who didn't have a deposit on file, we went back and got deposits. Anybody who didn't have emergency contacts or any of the missing information that was missing, we went back and filled that in. We did have to terminate one lease due to hostility. We had a person in the field who was just being hostile towards staff, so we went ahead and canceled the lease, and they got the boat out of the field. So other than that, we have applied under the Clean Vessel Act grant of getting a new pump out boat. Our pump.
Looking to apply.
We're looking to apply. Sorry about the wording on that. We have to wait for council before we do go ahead and apply to that. The pump out boat's starting to see a little bit of age to it. It was taken on water this weekend, and we've been having to do quite a bit of repairs to it, so we're going to look into getting it replaced this year as well. All of the new signage has been changed in the field. We've updated all the signage with the new numbers. We are still waiting on one sign by the dinghy dock to get updated as well, to get all of the information updated to the patrons. And then the budgeting, we're still adjusting to the budgeting as of right now. We're pretty much starting from scratch in the field. Today I sent a guy to go get screwdrivers and hammers because we realized we didn't even have that. So a lot of this stuff we're starting from scratch, and this month is going to be pretty rough for us until we can get our bearings going. But as of right now, we're running without any issues. Basically the only problems that we're having right now is the bathroom and the mail. We went over the mailing procedures. We talked to the postmaster about how we can address mail coming into the field. They do have a general delivery system there at the post office that they operate on, that patrons can set themselves up for general delivery here at on the island and get their mail delivered to the post office, where they would have to go pick it up there. So that's how we're addressing the mail situation at this time.
There has been a lot of concerns with that from the patrons. The town is not taking the responsibility of accepting private patrons' mail. I understand Matanzas had done that as a courtesy for the longest time, unbeknownst to town staff, but they chose to take that upon themselves to accept mail for the patrons, on behalf of the patrons. Items did come to light recently of some lost mail during the transition, or it wasn't delivered to the end user. The town staff, we are not taking on that responsibility. That is not part of this management of the field right now.
Another issue that they're running into is that they're claiming residency at that address. So they would be claiming that they live at the office address 109, basically what was going on, that we're trying to avoid. We have went ahead and received the submerged land lease for the other side of the bridge there. That has been signed. We've made contact with the Lee County Sheriff's Office to have help in assisting getting that area cleaned up before that transition actually happens, to make sure we don't inherit any of the issues that are currently there. As of right now, there's one vessel on bottom that's close to the channel. Other than that, everything else is afloat, but some are at risk or some are derelict vessels. So we want to make sure when we do take this over that we aren't inheriting any of that, and that becomes our problem. So we're working with the sheriff's department to see if they can help clean that up before we go ahead and start posting signs or do anything in that area. Other than that, everything else is on course. We are looking for new advertisement. That's something that I think we're going to turn to the council here to see if you guys have any ideas of how we can be advertising or putting the name out there for the mooring field. We do have the year annual advertisement with cruisers, but Southwinds is no more. So other than the social media resources that we have, we're looking for ideas for advertisement. But as of this time, I think that sums up the, or actually, I think Chelsea wanted to go more into the submerged land lease.
I can do that now, or if you want me to wait until the item
I do
comes
have a
up.
question real quick. Going back to the mail, how are we going to address if they have something from Amazon delivered?
Yeah, it's all general delivery is how it's delivered.
That's going to be sent to the post office?
Yeah, if that is, yeah, that's basically what Amazon does.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
We are not accepting any mail for any patron.
At either here or at your
We are
location.
not being responsible for somebody's
They've
private
got to
mail.
figure out how to get
General
it
to-
to wherever.
There are post office boxes available for
That's what I
a
said,
nominal fee. I know Austin, like he said, spoke to the postmaster of the general delivery as an option. But they're, on top of just getting our bearings with the harbor, with the management, we will not be accepting mail.
What is general delivery? They don't have to pay for a post office box?
They just hold it and you pick it up.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known people that have done that, and you just sign up for it, and your name is there, and they just hold it, and you come in and say, I'm blah, 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 and they
They try to
give
find
it to you.
Yeah.
And to further, to go into that, so during peak season, which is when the field is majority filled, E-Tran offers a free tram that drives right past that location. So it's not like it's a hike to get there. The free tram offers that. During out of season, there's other opportunities, but we want to get away from, we're only allowed 10 liveaboards in the field, and by, having a mailbox at, the previous address, and then they claim residency, and then they start to want a parking pass, it just compiles to a bigger mess that we need to clean up. And
Well, and it's not even just the 10 liveaboards, it's also people that are here for several months. They're going to want to have their mail too, and
a post office box or post office
You
here
can
on
do
island that we're fortunate to have, and they can coordinate it through them. That has been one of the largest issues that we've had to overcome with the patrons thus far.
I have another just concern and something to keep thinking about, and I know I've talked to Chelsea about it, that as we go into season particularly, I'm not sure that 7 to 12 office hours are the best for our patrons. Because if people are coming from Marco, Naples, other places north, they're not coming into the field between 7 and 12. So I am concerned that people are going to come in the afternoon, they're going to grab a ball, they're going to leave, or they're going to want to get a shower, they're going to want to get a fob and that sort of thing. So I would like for, as we're going through, to reassess those office hours.
And that is
because
constantly being done. We started with 7 to noon. We're limited with our staffing. We have 1 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff that we have to accommodate 7 days a week. So we're stretched out. We're operating on a budget that was set based on last year's numbers with it being contracted out. So we're restricted on all ends, but we are monitoring that. And if we do need to flex those hours during season, we have that availability. Once these fobs get in place, it's going to be hopefully working out like everybody expects. But we've had, like Austin said, we've hit some issues with Comcast, and hopefully that gets resolved here in the next week.
The fob key, is that going to be credit card demagnetized and then remagnetized?
It is this.
Like a car one?
This is the fobs that we have issued, we've ordered little floating, buoys that they will be assigned to.
We have some, maybe.
Those are older ones. We've got the new ones with the logo. The fob will be assigned to the ball number, not the person. But if you're on ball 12, you will have fob 12. And we know that it'll be associated to your reservation. If you leave, of course, we're gonna ask a deposit for these. And that way we can get them returned, and we can cut them off. We have control of the doors when they are open and closed. Have parking staff. We've great partnership with the parking staff right now during this transition. They've been super helpful, checking in on those bathrooms and the laundry, every hour or so while they're downtown patrolling. Austin's only here until 2 in the Monday through Friday. But the part-time staff are here till 1, I believe, on the weekends. So they all do an inspection throughout their shift if they're in the office, making sure that supplies and everything is clean. Issues going on. And
Are you gonna have like a box so people can,
drop it? Yep,
Drop
like a
it.
drop box.
It works like a hotel key where you can magnetize, demagnetize, change,
Yes.
shut off, on,
Absolutely.
to a different ball.
Yep, if I hit that fob and if I don't have access, it'll flash red. If I have access, it'll flash green. I'll have complete control of that.
Just tacking on to the hours as well. At the end of each day, we have the staff making a report of all of the day's activities. And at the end of the month, what we plan on doing is accumulating all of the hours that people come in and start focusing on the busier hours, or pushing the hours back and stuff like that. So this first month everything is getting, like she said, everything's being monitored, and we're documenting everything as far as times and when people are coming in, what they're coming in for, and any issues that they might have. This is all a learning process for all of us, so everything is being documented. In this first month, it's going to tell us exactly what's going on and what we can adjust, and then from then on out, we'll just adjust accordingly to how things move.
We're on day 20. Keep that in mind, please.
Any delinquencies currently that are way behind?
I have 2 delinquencies currently in the field right now. And one of them we're trying to make contact with, his emergency contact. I actually did get a hold of his emergency contact, and they said they'd be calling back, but they had never called back yet. We do have a card on file for the person, but I think there was an issue with the billing with it. The other one is currently, I think, just the Halo that's been abandoned in the field, and we're pursuing that legally right now.
The town attorney has that in his
20
court.
months behind, that one, the Halo,
It's
that's
more
way
like
behind.
a year and a half or something like that.
The
Yeah,
other ones.
Halo-
yeah, just a month or so.
Substantial, enough to pursue in court.
I saw that sunk boat the other day, on the way out. Must be really deep, because it's only showing a little bit of
Yeah.
the mast now.
She's laying on our side too,
Yeah,
so it's pushed down. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll wait until
you're gonna talk about the submerged land lease, but I'm assuming what it is that all of the stuff is in one lease now?
yes.
Oh, it's combined.
Except the dinghy dock.
Dinghy dock is not?
I believe so, because we had a hiccup with the,
It's gonna be separate, and then the other is all together? Is that the way it's going to end up, or is it still working to get the dinghy dock within all of it?
I'll have to look back. We had a hiccup with the dinghy dock submerged land lease because of FDOT and DEP.
Okay.
A difference of opinions of how it was, how town came to installing that dinghy dock. It's a form issue is what it amounts to.
Okay.
They didn't like the form of how we installed it, so, in the agreement that we have. So, regardless, the submerged land lease expires in a year, so because of that dinghy dock, so we're trying to resolve that. Time's a ticking. Yes, we want one report to DEP. I don't want multiple.
And you go ahead and give us, I mean, that's kind of expansion of the mooring field anyway, so.
So at the Monday town council meeting, town council authorized the mayor to sign the submerged land lease, which includes the expansion, north side of Matanzas Pass Bridge. That was certified mailed out on, I believe, Tuesday to FDEP. We're waiting for their execution. Once that gets executed, Next steps are essentially putting it out, the construction of it out to bid. It'll go, okay, to that point, the town applied for a grant for the construction of the expansion. Received a notice of award, said for I think it's $130,000 is what we received. We're waiting on the agreement with its FBIP, Florida Boating Improvement Program. Have to get that agreement, get it executed before we can start any work. Of course, I would not start work during peak season. Try to coordinate this to be outside of season, so hopefully next summer. Cannot do any work until that gets executed by both parties. I'm still waiting on a draft of that agreement. It'll have to go to town council for their approval, and then we'll wait for them to execute it. But trying to get the timelines in tandem so that we can actually make this a viable project and get it constructed hoping next summer. That was a big win on town for getting that grant funding.
A timeline for before starting construction to notify the people that are on that north section to tell them to leave? Is it 30, 60, 90?
We have to wait until it's fully executed before we can actually go out there and say, you know, this is the town's submerged land, we need you to vacate. That's why we did ask Austin to coordinate with the sheriff's office for at least the sunken vessel, because that's going to be the biggest hurdle. But I believe in part Austin, in partnership with the sheriff's office, I'm hoping we won't have too many issues.
Hopefully we'll have enough time to notify them that they won't complain too bad.
Absolutely.
The other thing, from now on, can we refer to Eastfield, Westfield, Northfield?
West field,
I'll look at
the far west.
I'll
Just
look,
for our purposes.
I mean, that's fine.
Sounds
Yeah.
reasonable, yeah. That way we'll know for sure.
So there's a lot of different timelines trying to get them all in tandem. If and when we do get the grant executed, if and when we do get the DEP, the submerged land lease executed, basically next steps would be to put it out to bid. It has to be out to bid for a minimum of 30 days. We would receive the bids and then open those. That bid would go to town council for their approval, and then we would move forward with that contract and construction of that north field. Of course, we would have to be following all of the grant guidelines, do quarterly reporting, things like that, notify them of the award, get their blessing on that. So a lot of steps in between.
It looks like
Is all the design complete?
Yes, sir. It had to be complete as part of the permit package.
There's actually if you go under the boaters page on DACWA, there's actually a survey, a mock-up of what's planned there.
I think we have it.
Yeah, you should have
do.
gotten a packet on
You
it.
do,
sure
but
we got it,
we published it on DACWA because we did notice that some people were asking for locations. They didn't really know where ball 7 was or ball, you know, whatever it was. So we posted that link on DACWA's page.
It has the plan that for the expansion on it.
it's a little ahead of time, but looks like the swing radius on the new north end is going to be a lot bigger than everything else. So at some point we'll have to decide whether it's priority by request or priority by size, so that we don't run out of spaces for big boats. I guess
Our
that-
first come, first serve. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done. I hope you guys got your boots on, because between the submerged land lease getting approved, the harbor management plan needs to be updated, your strategic plan needs to be updated. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to get done. Again, we're day 20 into this, but as Austin has taken, he is officially the full-time harbor master. We have promoted within for the beach team lead, where he shared that role before, so his efforts are focused only on the harbor and the mooring field. There's a lot of work to be done.
When you say the harbor management plan, I mean, we just did it, obviously, a couple years ago, but it has to be redone when this is done.
It needs to be redone because it references a service provider agreement,
Gotcha.
and since we've taken it in-house,
And the strategic plan is the document that and that's all changed now too, so
yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
So that should be done ASAP, essentially. We should start working on that perhaps next.
And that strategic plan gives us guidance.
Right.
It was adopted by this committee. It's a living, breathing document. It can be changed.
Well, there's
tweaked.
some of the stuff that is no longer necessary with the change.
Exactly. So we want
And
to,
some new things that need to be addressed.
and we want to clean that up so we have clear guidance on what this committee sees and what council sees as priorities.
Well, and I've brought this up before, but I'm going to bring it up again just for the record. I still have reservations about adding more balls when we have 2 showers. I mean, we've talked about this before, and that's where we are, and that goes into the upland service provider. We really are under-serviced for what we have. And so we need to figure that out, because we've been talking about that, and we've been trying to find a spot, but, you know, we've got 70 balls and 2 showers.
We
So,
haven't had really any issues with.
well, but
waiting
we've
for
had
them to
complaints
showers.
in our meetings from public that says there's just not enough.
Okay.
And if we're adding 19 more balls, we've got a problem already. I mean, not a problem. I understand what you're saying, Austin, but we've had people that say that we don't have enough. And from some of us that have cruised before, there are some of the boats that have their own facilities on board, so they're not using ours. I understand that too, but I think that's something we've got to consider as we're going forward. If we're going to add 19 more balls, we need more showers. So we need to be finding another solution to that.
Part of your strategic
Yes.
plan.
Just as a follow-up, I already told Chelsea, but just as a follow-up for everybody's information, the Pink Shell property that we were considering has been sold, so it's not going to be in our future consideration. More than asking price. Was it, they asking 2.5 and it sold for 2.8 or something like that? I don't know. I could let you know, but it sold for, I think, like a couple $100,000 at least more than the asking price. Yeah.
He doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, I got a whole stack of them down here on the floor.
Okay. Anything? Yeah, go ahead.
With that too, so part of the Bayside Park dock, we had to wait until we closed the book on the expansion in order for us to apply for the DEP, to the DEP for the Bayside Park dock. We are in the middle of the Army Corps of Engineer application process for that. We just compiled a letter a couple weeks ago. Did have some rebuttals. We had to respond accordingly, the Army Corps, to those rebuttals for that Bayside Park dock. So we're waiting to hear back from them.
But how many linear feet is that gonna?
I can send you the plans.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've looked at them.
I think we have it.
It's gonna be, it'll be less than what we have already for dinghy dock, because it's gonna go straight out. It's just gonna
It'd
be
be
one
straight
big-
out and, yeah. I think it's like it's either backwards, I'll send you the plans. I'll send them to the whole
It
committee.
looks really tight for the Snug people once that's gonna be in. They have charter boats running it, you know, they've got a lot of rental boats and stuff.
One
down
thing
there.
I noticed, actually, I was heading to the mooring field office the other day, was the encroachment of those rental boats into Bayside Park. I did reach out to our code enforcement staff to make sure that they're not encroaching on the town's riparian rights, or to stay within their property lines. So they did reach out, and Snug Harbor was very compliant, and they did move their vessels.
Well, having run a charter in there for 20 years on the easy side of Matanzas, there's nothing easy about that when the tide's running. It's
So
brutal.
one thing too that we're kind of on a timeline for is Kansas is only allowing us to dock our boat on their Crescent Street dockage until January 1st. So Austin's actively looking for some dockage. We do have, a plan B to pull the boat daily if needed, although that's taking.
How's Moss Marine looking for that?
You want to touch on who you've
Yeah,
used?
so
like
we
it's
got
the
a hold of Moss
closest.
Marine, and they are just, they told me they'd get back with me about billing, but they do have the Coast Guard going in there as well, coming up, so they're trying to
Oh,
plan
because
for
they're
that as
redoing the
well.
Coast Guard.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a tight spot. As far as Diversified and stuff, Diversified isn't, it's not a boat storage, it's more of just a service yard, so they're not down for boat storage as well. Other than that, we're starting to look into more of like private rentals and things like that, but there are other places that we can approach, just gotta think outside of the box about it. As far as like condominiums and stuff like that, I've noticed areas on the water that aren't being used, so I'm gonna try to approach those businesses and see if we can set up some kind of deal.
Maybe, John Richard, have you been, because he owns all that behind the Ocean Jewels, but whatever his shop is, that whole lagoon
Oh,
back there.
yeah.
I don't know if it's deep enough for you to get back there, but he's got a ton of back behind his,
On Shipwreck?
yeah, behind Shipwreck. Yeah, exactly.
Austin, you had once mentioned the possibility of using our property on Virginia.
Yeah, that was a dream I once had. I'm not too sure where that's at anymore, but that would be an ideal spot to have some kind of dockage.
It never
up there.
came to council, ask us to money toward building a lift there for you.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
heard.
seem like it would be prohibitively expensive.
There's no seawall there.
Yeah.
So we'd have to put in a seawall, get that permitted, and then put the lift, but that's a perfect segue into me telling the committee that you have a report due to town council for their November 1st meeting, so what a perfect time. Thanks. Mayor?
Doesn't seem like a reasonable request to me. And then, in the long run, we're not paying rent to somebody else.
Yeah, that's, no, that's
Virginia's not that far from
not at all.
Town Hall.
I've been to that property many a times. And
Yeah.
I mapped it out, yeah.
What report do we have due November 1st?
There, yeah, I got an email from Chelsea or somebody that we have to do a committee report.
Council is scheduled certain
We're scheduled
committees.
for the first of November, 2nd of November, whatever that Monday is.
Some committees were
So-
just showing up to town council and providing reports, and council requested a scheduled report from each committee. So we're gonna get back on that timeline and that schedule, and you guys are November 1st.
I can,
November
or
1st,
if you
that's
want
Monday.
to, Sam, or anybody else wants
Somebody would show up and present the report.
to.
You can.
So you want me to bring up the possibility of,
Probably more info than I
Virginia
do.
I think
as,
you need a motion and a vote.
to explore the possibility of using our Virginia property as a storage area for our pump out boat. Okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion? This is just exploring the possibility of using it, is that correct?
Possible. It's possible.
Okay.
Recommending.
We're recommending that we
council.
explore it, okay? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll bring that up. While we're talking about that, I might as well say, I'll bring up the submerged land lease. And we're doing the provider now, as of October 1st. Anything else I should talk to council about?
Adequacy of our upland providers, the showers,
Okay.
for example, that you addressed.
So exploring that because we need more facilities. Okay. Spot. I'll talk about that we're going to be, since we have a new provider, that the town is the provider, we're going to have to be working on the management plan and redoing our strategic plan as well.
I think this is a great opportunity for the committee to, this is an advisory committee to the town council, so it may behoove you to ask what their priorities are for this committee and what tasks, if any,
Ask council
you all tackle.
for priorities. Anything else? That's a start. If anybody thinks
I
about it, you
was gonna say,
can,
we can send you something
you
to
can send it to
Chelsea,
Chelsea.
and then-
If you have a suggestion, send it to me. And I will get something to council. Is it a week before that I have to, or farther than that?
1 week in advance, so
So-
it'll be due next Monday.
Okay.
That directly to the town clerk and just CC me.
All right, will do. Anything else on, well, we kind of, on the expansion of the mooring field update, we talked about all of that. Upland service provider,
I do want to add to this section,
Okay.
Matanzas had contracted and provided a porta potty underneath the bridge for outside hours of the restrooms being open. We have since provided one, and they had removed theirs. Although there's a lot of construction going on underneath there, we have continued to provide that service as well.
anything else?
Is that limited to people in the field, or is that just open?
It's open.
Would be hard to limit that, I would think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you could put
porta
a fob
potty
on
with a
that.
fob,
or-
I think maybe,
And there's
Yeah.
also a public
issue.
restroom at Snug Harbor.
Yes,
Not part of the restaurant, that they gave us as part of an agreement when we allowed them to do something years ago, and it's supposed to
Yes.
be a purely public restroom that's right there.
Do patrons, are they aware of that?
There's a sign, I don't think it's real visible, but
Is it 24 hour?
So
They probably lock it when the restaurant.
Just the restaurant hours was closed at 10.
They're nice restrooms.
I've used them before. Anything else? And we're to strategic plan, and I haven't really looked at it recently for today or anything, but I think, if we need to start working on the management plan and the strategic plan, those should both be things that we look at next week or next month.
So if you would like, we can set up the roundtable discussion, like what was done before, kind of like a workshop, or if you want to stay like this, and just kind of vet it in this forum, you're more than welcome to.
Maybe next meeting, we should just start, maybe then go to that kind of a discussion, or what do people think? I don't know.
What's the most recent version
Of the
of the
strategic plan?
strategic? I've got,
I will send that out
Okay.
today. I'll send that out with the plans, the dinghy dock, and I'll send out the harbor management plan as well.
I've got so many versions of the harbor
I
management
just went to my
plan, it's
latest
like,
version, but I'm not sure that's the latest version.
in my computer, it's like, I've got
I
all these.
apologize for moving backwards, but maybe we could put a sign on the door of the new mooring field office that tells them where the other bathrooms are when this office is closed, that there is one at Snug Harbor and there is one under the bridge.
And also in their welcome kit, their welcome.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you.
About the strategic plan and so forth, I would like to see a review of the responsibilities and of this committee. It seems to have changed every time the plan comes out. I think we should review what it is that we need to do our job and what our job is. Because from the years that I've been here, it's just varied back and forth.
I'll send that as well. That was recently updated in 2019, I believe. I'll send your, well, it has all of the committees kind of task, general,
This one has its own particular,
that changed in 2019. So I'll get you the most updated.
and there's no one for this committee?
Yes, there is.
There is, but it was updated in 2019 with a resolution, and it was updated for every single committee. So MRF has its own tasks, Anchorage Advisory, Public Safety. So
Is that part of one of these things we're reviewing?
I will send that with the other documents.
There are some specific things in the harbor management plan too,
Some that have changed.
and there are some that have changed.
And I just it was changed in a way that excluded us to a greater degree than previous, and that's fine, but I'd just like to review that and see how we feel about it.
And I'm going to kind of dovetail with that because it seems that some of the other committees are somewhat confused too. I know at MRF's meeting last week, they have been discussing in-depth pump out procedures and pump outs. And staff has relayed to them that it may be more of purview of this committee. And then there was, I believe it's been some time ago that one of the MRF committee members had come to one of your meetings and had mentioned it. But I know that there's some interest on that committee to discuss pump outs. So it may behoove you, Kathy, to reach out to the chair of that committee and coordinate that. I would hate for there to be duplicate efforts from both the staff side and the committee side.
Is there thing about more pump outs outside of the field or just in general?
You'll have to.
I'd have to ask them.
Ask them.
Who is it?
Steve Johnson, I believe, is the chair of that committee.
Right.
If it hasn't changed. But there's a
It's on the website, right?
Yes. We are working on some a Facebook social media posts to push out with our PIO on new procedures with pump outs and how to get them.
Do we still have the coupon,
Yes.
that it's $5 then for outside the field then?
Yeah, so as of October 1st, we've taken in everything. So our capabilities are more versatile, I guess, now. We're doing everything from the office, and we're capable of doing it from the boat as well. So all of our sales we can do off of the boat
Okay, so you can
now.
do it right on the boat.
Yeah, we do have a credit card reader as well,
Okay.
and then we do have, I guess, connection on the boat to where we can purchases and transactions from the boat now.
So if they're out in the field and, somebody wants to purchase one right then and there, we can accommodate that. Although it's not ideal, but we can accommodate that type of request on the spot. Same thing with parking permits, mooring field parking permits. Austin and his staff have that opportunity to sell them right there in the mooring field office, which we have received kudos from some of the patrons. It's nice not to have to trek down to town hall. Same thing with the pump out tickets during office hours.
Cost to
So we're restricted by the Clean Vessel Act. We received our pump out boat about 7 years ago using grant funding. And in that grant funding, we are limited to $5 per pump out. So we cannot charge more than $5 per pump out because we received that pump out boat via grant. And again, pursuing the same grant moving forward, we would still, for 7 more years, be restricted on the $5 per pump out.
But it's free in the field.
Yes.
That's just outside of the
Infield,
field.
and then what's our perimeter for doing the $5 pump out?
We were limited to our jurisdictional limits, so 1,000 feet out.
Getting back to harbor management plan, strategic plan, if we want to do workshop or if we want to start or do it here, people feel.
Feel like we should do it here and just stay longer rather than having a separate session.
Okay.
It just seems like it's going to be easier to get people together, just plan on staying longer. I had a question about that also, for duplication. You're going to send us all the stuff ahead of time like you always do as attachments. Are you going to have a stack for us printed out when we get here?
Yes.
I was going to say, if we know that, because I print it and then
Bring it, I know.
yeah, and then I bring it and then I have more, but if you're going to have everything we need for us, I'll just look at it online instead of
Yep.
printing it all out, because it's quite a bit.
Or if you would like for me to print it here at Town Hall and have it available for pickup prior to the meeting, we can make that accommodation.
You can put that in the email, or,
Yeah.
If it's here when we get there, I just won't print it out. I'll just look at it online.
I would like a hard copy prior to the meeting so that I can,
We'll just,
review
we'll
it, you
plan
know,
on
and-
making a hard copy
Yeah.
for you all and have it available for pickup maybe sometime next week. That way it gives you
would
time
be
to
great.
review
That'd
it.
be good.
Yeah.
We'll do that. And I'll send the digital copy as well, so you have it for your records.
That way everybody has the same package.
That would be
save
great.
that ink on my too.
Well, let's at least start it in this forum then.
Right.
And then if we feel we need to have some other workshop sessions, as we get going, let's go ahead and
Seems
do
like
that.
we have the room and for all morning long.
Sounds good.
We might as well do that instead of trying to make another date for everybody.
All right, anything else on that? Member, huh?
Before you jump, I
Yes.
just want to touch base on this. And these
Yes.
are, you were given unaudited financials, unaudited.
Thank you.
I can't say it, unaudited financials for the mooring field. But I would really like to point out on the revenue side. You look up at the top and you see harborage user fees. We had projected $170,000 in revenue, so that's the actual rental of the systems themselves. We collected $193,000, so it's $23,000 over our projection for revenue. So that's, the field is picking up. I feel like there hasn't really been an off season this year, but we're hoping that that continues to grow. And as we've gained control of the field and the management of it, we have direct oversight of, Austin alluded to earlier on, there, we saw where a reservation or a reservation was made for 3 weeks and then they made a new one for 2 weeks and then made another one for 3 weeks. Well, technically they've been here over a month. They should have a deposit should have been collected. So there's a lot of little things like that we're cleaning up. And honestly, kudos to Austin and the new staff for learning DACWA so quickly. And we continue to learn and tweak reporting on it. We're updating the emails that the patrons get. We're always looking for suggestions, recommendations. Stop in the office if you get a chance. The setup, again, we're going to continue to grow, and things are going to continue to change and review policies and procedures. And we're on day 20. So but we look forward to continuing this path, higher revenue this year.
Where does grant income get on this sheet, or is it?
It comes, it's in the revenue. So you'll see FDEP grant. That is the grant that we receive for any revenues or any time that Austin or his staff go out and do pump outs, we receive reimbursement on their time doing pump outs. So we track that. Pump out services is the $5 tickets that we sell. The one thing that's missing on here is WCIND grant is under maritime instead of mooring field because it's not just the mooring field. So that's on the maritime budget. But those 3 revenue sources up at the top are the grants.
So keeping up the field is on some other budget. It's repair the field,
That is that's the town's budget is to,
but separate from our operating base.
all expenses, anything related to mooring field operations, management, anything is in this department, is in mooring operations department 36. You'll
We
see
just
it here.
The DDOC and all that is,
They don't have any grant or pump out services put in for the budget here. There should be some, correct? I mean, there's zeros for that in
So
the second column.
we didn't project any revenues
for that.
for those.
And there will be.
Yes.
Okay.
And historically, from the numbers that I've seen, it's been about that.
It's been about what is in the first column,
Yes, ma'am.
probably. Okay.
Yes. Between $1,000 and $2,000.
Gotcha. And the grant would be about the same-ish?
No, the FDEP grant I believe this year's grant is $53,000. And that includes any maintenance to the pump out boat, any parts that are needed, and then, staff time.
And that's not in here, but it will be in
Oh,
here.
it is in here. FDEP grant is that. Because
Okay,
It'd just be
but
more.
that's, okay, but that's the 2021,
this is last fiscal year's.
okay. And there is one for this fiscal coming up.
Yes.
That's not in,
This is last year. We're
okay,
not
this
looking
is
at.
all last year.
This is all last year's numbers.
Okay.
Close out of last year. Unaudited close out of last year's
Gotcha.
numbers.
So
Not
the
this current fiscal year.
53,000 will be for the next fiscal year,
This current fiscal year, yes.
rather this current, okay. And can that money be used to purchase a new pump-out boat?
That same grant, we would have to apply for specifically the pump out boat purchase.
And what is the total budget column in the middle? That was what you projected.
Yes, that is the
And the
original
one in the
budgeted.
first column is what actually was.
Correct.
Okay,
And then the last
I
column
understand.
is the difference.
gotcha, I gotcha.
So, perfect example, where did it go? Bank charges. Bank charges, there's a processing fee from DACWA, 3.5%, to pass through to the end user. Didn't project the bank charges last year because no idea how many transactions we were going to do. And that's why you see that's the negative. That's offset by the revenues.
We took in to
Yes.
pay for it.
Yes.
So am I reading this right then? We made $39,000
Not make $39,000. We came in $39,000.
in the hole,
Under budget.
under budget.
Budget.
Gotcha.
There is no net income.
Don't,
At all.
we do not make
Yeah,
we do not make money on the mooring field. We
I
legally,
know that. I know we're not, we can't
Right,
do
that's
that.
what I was trying to,
But we lost 39.5 essentially.
when we don't make money, where does the surplus or the deficit, how does that get adjusted at the end of the year? Because obviously we can't figure it ahead of time.
good question for our finance department.
But they do it, We're not allowed to make money.
We have a new finance staff up there. They're very, very good, but they're playing catch up. And still, reviewing numbers and cleaning up some items. So that's why, again, these are unaudited numbers.
So it gets adjusted every year, however they adjust it through the,
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
we're not making money.
And
We do not make money.
And
We're not allowed to
we're
make
not
money.
sending in a yearly report as we're supposed to.
We are.
Oh, okay.
I reached out to FDEP, the last one we just have to send them a letter. I got a template from them of what they're looking for. And so we're, again, with the new finance staff up there, we're working on that. It's due November 1st. So we're gonna play catch up and catch up last year's and this year's.
We approached this sometime in the past, and I can't remember whether you handed out some sort of report or not.
2 years ago, yes.
Yeah, okay, I can't remember what it looked like. Okay, thanks.
The gentleman I spoke to yesterday, who actually does the review of these for compliance, says you only need a single page item, so we're working on that.
So kind of a basic question here, so the budget, so revenues would probably 170,000 less than that. Audited closing the revenue other account for the, but you say you don't make money.
Again, I'm not the numbers person. If you want to, you can send me that email and I can forward that along to them.
It's always been the rule and it remains the rule.
Yes.
Anything else on this?
Just so I understand clearly, the proposed budget, going back to what Doug said, we proposed $194,665. But in actual costs, or revenues rather, we had $155,000.
Expenses.
Expenses rather, right.
Projected $170,000 in revenue. Exceeded that and we received 193,000. Roughly. A little bit more than that. And
On the
there's,
expense side, our original, what they budgeted was 194,665 middle bottom, but we actually spent
At 155.
155,217.
and again, these are unaudited, they're not final numbers, they're still wrapping up year end, which was September 30th, again, that was 20 days ago. So there still may be some stuff that is pending that has to be posted. Just perfect example, I noticed that FICA retirement and life and health are at 0. Those can't be at 0 because wages were charged to it, so that has to be updated. So again, it's unaudited numbers.
Maybe for Rex. So when they did this year's budget, that will be what our middle column is. They'll have that for next year starting. Do we already have a starting numbers for those?
Yes,
Do. I don't have them with me, but
I can send that out, or you can go on the
Don't
town
need 'em. I just
website.
wanted to explain that that's what we did recently over the
Right.
summer, was budget for the
as
next
she
year.
explained earlier, it's very difficult to coordinate it all because even though we'll have a number on the mooring field, there's income coming into maritime that gets spent for the mooring field. It's on a separate page under maritime.
It'll all get adjusted, and then we'll get the audited ones this year. And then next year, it's a guess. Yeah, you're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of separating the maritime from the mooring field budget. Everything mooring field related and any cost directly associated to the mooring field is charged to mooring field. Anything other, if there's a seagrass buoy at the south end of the island that we need to replace, that comes out of maritime, because that doesn't have to do with the mooring field. So that's why we tried to separate and draw that line. Does it get gray sometimes? Absolutely. But
Or like it gets gray in maritime, but not in mooring field, really. Some of the monies come over from there.
so again, we're trying to clean this up, so.
Speaking of buoys, those mooring field buoys, Austin, are nice, because it's really hard to tell without the yellow, without your mooring field buoys. Those are really nice to define the perimeter of everything out there.
Yeah, so our special purpose buoys, we are getting
Yeah.
those updated now, so better quality ones up momentarily.
It helps have a nice defined line, because it's impossible to see without those.
Yeah, you
exactly
still
the
get your
perimeter.
people coming in and hitting ground here and there, but you'll have that.
Traffic seems to go inside the yellow buoys a good bit, on the west side. I don't know whether that's a thing to be policed or not. Are you still getting complaints from on the balls for much wake?
I think pretty much the complaints have died down, but the problem hasn't gone away. We did have some repositioning of some channel markers that were hit. We looked in the light list and realized that the original markings were out of place. So DeHaze went in and came and removed, or actually put in, when those got damaged, they put them in the correct spot. So that's been diverting people away from the field entirely. I know there was an issue with some kind of zoning issue on the channel in the past with a residence dock, and it just becomes really close to that dock there, and that's where it kind of,
They're where the buoy is supposed to be.
yeah.
Where Tom Torgenson's house, like that, where it really narrows down that one little.
I'm not
house.
sure who the resident is,
Yeah.
but there is
Near Matanz, just a little bit
yeah.
east of Matanz, a couple
Yeah.
They
streets.
had
So-
to tear down the dock and rebuild it because it was literally in the channel.
Yeah, so I think that deters boaters and it pushes them more towards the mooring field. And that was the sign that got damaged in the past, and before it was pushed in closer, that channel marker was pushed closer to the mooring field. But as soon as the light list was checked and we updated the GPS coordinates on it, it's been deterring a lot. You can sit there and actually watch people's bows are heading away from the mooring
Yeah,
field.
it's
coming
real
into the
narrow in that
bridge.
one.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
narrow in
It does
there.
get narrow, but it helps us out for
Yeah.
keeping people back. And plus, it keeps them on their toes to where if they are under any excess of speed, it causes them to slow down and assess the situation so that they can divert into the channel.
Good.
Anything further? Member items and reports. Doug, you have something? Mike?
Well, nothing, just to reiterate, I do have concerns about the hours, and I know we have to work on this, we're only 20 days in, because I sort of picture myself when I was out actively cruising. If I came down from Venice, where I based out of back in those days, I would not make Fort Myers Beach till late in the afternoon. So if that should happen, I want to pick up a mooring ball here. How do I proceed if the office is closed?
What I've set the mooring field up for is just that. For any questions coming into the mooring field, ball 1 and 2, we make readily accessible for anybody coming right into the bridge, so that if they're not familiar with the area, we have 2 empty balls open for right when they do come in. What the staff does every morning is we check the mooring field for anybody, and ball 1 and 2 is visible from the dock. So if there is actually an unchecked and registered guest on those balls there, we usually make contact with that person, set them up for an assignment, and then get them onto the assigned ball that they would be. Anybody coming in after hours, that's what we suggest them to do. If they are unfamiliar with the area, we just suggest they take ball 1 or 2, and then when we come in the morning, we'll help divert them over to the new assignment. Basically, we have it set up so anybody not knowing the area will see 2 balls available and just hopefully naturally take those systems there, and then we can address it in the morning.
If they do make a reservation request through DACWA, there is an automatic reply that it says something to the effect of, if you have received this between X and X hours, staff, our office hours are limited. We will address it first thing in the morning when we come in. But I believe Austin has it set up where right before staff leave, they do a quick check, and then first thing in the morning. So there's a very limited window that people can come in without somebody on staff knowing.
No way to, if you're not physically here, there's no way to check in and prepay. You have to physically
First
be
come,
here
first serve.
and sign your
You want to
agreement.
touch on that?
So.
About first come, first serve, and then
Yes.
coming?
So we are under first come, first serve, so you physically do have to be here in order to check in. But everything is digitalized to where you do not have to come in the office to execute a lease. Everything is done online. But the thing about it is, the way that dock was set up is they have it on a reservation, a confirm system like you would a hotel. The only problem is that we can't assign a ball unless they're here. Basically, how we're getting around it is letting them know that we do have room for them, and to notify us when they do first come in. What we're doing initially now is when people do check in and we know that they are coming into the field, they get a courtesy call. So we just call them up and just give them a list of questions to get exactly what they're doing. That way we can determine the best assignment for them. The verbiage that we're using now is to notify us when you're 24 hours out, and we'll set you up with assignment, but that is not guaranteed. If there's an issue with that assignment, staff will notify you, or ball 1 or 2 is open, that you can tie up there until we get the assignment switched for you. So
They can get an assignment of where to go if they get here after hours. They can go directly to their ball rather than 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, yes. So they should have an assignment 24 hours out, all right? But like the staff is telling them, it may or may not be here, but if you want to notify us while you're on site or while you're in the field, we can guarantee you that ball. But as of now, we're just a first come, first served basis, and we cannot guarantee you any systems unless you're here.
Waitlisted, essentially. And then you notify 24 and 20, you're on your way down from Venice, call Austin, call the office, hey, I'm traveling in, I'm coming in, yes, we have availability. As of right now, your assignment will be free, and we look forward to you coming in, but it's not guaranteed until you're physically here, because we are first come, first served.
Even if they're willing to pay.
If they're willing to pay, it's dictated by our submerged land lease.
We actually did have a gentleman who wanted that situation right there, where he wanted to purchase the ball. If you want to purchase the ball, we're not holding that ball. You purchase that system. So you're not reserving it. We're not holding it. You
Just
paid for it.
prepaying for
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, it's paid for.
If it's not here, it's refunded, essentially.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause-
Aqua has made it very easy for us to track and see that kind of stuff. Then especially having part-time staff that the only day they actually work together, I think, is Wednesday, having They can make notes in the system and the customer profile. There's a lot of back-end stuff that DocWell provides, and they're continuing to grow and come up with new ideas. And at the request of like some of the reports that we asked them to tweak, we're not the only ones asking for those types of things. So they're very open to working with us. Mike's trying to say he's ready to go home.
Are you
Love 'em
phone
and you-
challenged
I'm
today?
phone challenged right now. Had it shut off. I don't know what's going on.
Also, too, if you are technologically challenged, we do have the staff available to assist with your request or reservation. And of course, you can always pick up the phone and call the office, call Austin. Not to call anybody out.
Are we gonna have a computer in the room for patrons, or?
We have an iPad set up. It's got a, I don't know what you call it, a case on it for a stationary spot. We just don't have a spot set up yet.
Gotcha, okay.
We've used it a couple times, especially with the guests who aren't technologically savvy. We, especially with this one, we can just go and match it up and then walk them and talk them
Help them
through
through it.
of what they
Gotcha.
need to do and get them familiar with DocWell itself.
Okay.
And plus, it's a learning experience for the staff and the patron as well.
We have Wi-Fi in the lobby for everybody?
Yes.
Mike, did you have anything further on your member items?
Not unless I can take a hammer to this phone, that would be fine.
Do that.
I don't think I have anything, other than I will write the report and send it. Pam, do you have anything?
I do. I have an issue for Mike.
An issue for Mike?
Thanks for signing up for another term, and Doug, thanks for signing up for another term, and Greg, wherever you are, thanks for signing up for another term.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He served a long, you've been.
I'm going for the participation trophy.
Bob's been a
You and
long
Kathy.
time member too.
Yeah, you, Bob, and Kathy.
I
Longer
came in
than me, 'cause I took a break
2007,
for a
but Mike
while.
had a big term and then went away, and then he's back.
Did they call in for an excused? Bob and
I
Greg?
did not hear from Greg. Bob
Bob
did
did.
request it, yes.
Do you have an item?
I don't, thank you.
No public appeared, so our next meeting, Sam?
Looks like November
Do
17th.
you have something?
I just wanted to mention it. No one here mentioned it. I'm kind of surprised.
Oh.
The Cruisers Appreciation
Oh,
Day.
Oh.
And in
Come on,
case,
guys.
our one day.
One fun party.
well, it's gonna be different, I guess.
So
It would be different.
you may wish to bring that up in the council report if they wish for this committee to host that event, or if they don't. But that's something, it'll be different this year, definitely.
Well, we'll have to get some financial help.
Well, you all already requested financials in the add-on list. I believe it's to the tune of $2,500.
Right.
But I'll confirm that. It was on the add-on list, but I believe that was to help subsidize that.
Okay.
As well as
Advertising and,
giveaways.
yeah, and giveaways
Swag
and
is
stuff.
what we call it, but yes.
Okay. I will put that in, because obviously it would be different because we always shared it with Matanzas, so now that is not, we would be doing it ourselves.
There may be some opportunities for change. It doesn't, maybe we partner with Kansas or another restaurant down there. We aren't necessarily restricted to them. Maybe food trucks, but again, this is something we would have to get the approval by council. There's all kinds of possibilities.
Okay.
Next meeting, November 17th.
Luckily, it's not, sometimes we've bumped up
Thanksgiving.
against Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
but it's not.
We'll look and see when Easter is and how that is
Yeah, for
going
dates.
forward with the Cruisers Day.
Right, well. good to
Pam, I
see
move that
everybody.
we adjourn.
Thank you.
What is the new telephone number you gave?
239-224-4118.
Okay, today is October 21st.
We vote to adjourn?
Let's say that again for slow.
239-224-4118.